Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Tuesday, August 14th. This is Gina McGuire. Over the next couple of days, we will have increases to fire potential as lightning spreads north across the Great Basin, today making its way into the southern two-thirds of the Great Basin, and then gradually spreading north and east as we move through Thursday. Also today, gusty winds and dry conditions will affect our ongoing incidents in Idaho and any new incidents. Looking over the last 24 hours, we did have thunderstorms develop across parts of Utah into the southern half of Nevada. These thunderstorms only produced light amounts of precipitation in some areas, but also the areas of the heavier thunderstorms over parts of southern and eastern Nevada saw rainfall amounts anywhere from over a quarter to over a third of an inch. Great Basin fire activity yesterday was light across the area. However, we continued to have several large fires across the Great Basin in Idaho and Utah. Over the last 7 days, precipitation has mainly been confined to the southern half of the Great Basin and been very light, with very dry conditions over the northern half of the region. Even over the last 2 weeks or longer, we have had those very dry conditions in place across Idaho, into northern Utah, and northern and western Nevada. How this has affected our fuel conditions: ERCs continue to rise and are above the 80th or 90th percentile, and many areas above the 97th percentile over the northern half of the Great Basin, and have been going up over southern areas but are still below the 50th percentile. Looking at how these ERCs compare to normal for the time of year, ERCs across all of Idaho and most of Utah into the northern half of Nevada are all near or at records for the time of year. So these ERCs that we're seeing are well above normal and above records for the time of year, even in Utah. However, these ERCs are lower than what we saw earlier in the year before the monsoon kicked in. However, they still are very high for this time of year due to the dry conditions we've seen recently. The satellite loop from this morning shows high pressure still dominating the Great Basin with low pressure off the coast. However, we are seeing that moisture move up into the southern half of the Great Basin and will continue pushing north as the high pressure builds over the next couple of days. We also have an area of low pressure moving through Montana, and south of this area of low pressure is where these gusty winds and dry conditions will affect southern Idaho today. Now looking at the weather pattern for later today, you can see those thunderstorms push further north, especially into Nevada today, and we have issued high risk as these thunderstorms enter areas that have been very dry recently with very high ERCs. Also, the dry conditions you can see across Idaho, along with the windy conditions, so we do have some high risk for gusty winds and low RH up across southern Idaho today. As we move into looking at the weather on Tuesday, you can see where those thunderstorms are located. We'll continue across Utah near our large fires, and also will spread further west. So again, this is the main area of concern across Nevada and into central Utah, which is where these thunderstorms will likely be on the drier side. We'll also see gusty outflow winds with these thunderstorms. And you can also see the gusty northwest winds up across southern Idaho today. As we move into Wednesday, these thunderstorms build further north as the ridge moves north. Therefore, thunderstorms will move up into northern Nevada and southwest Idaho, as well as northern Utah. We have issued high risk for southwest Idaho into northern Nevada, but we will continue to monitor the thunderstorms as they move into northeast Nevada and northern Utah as well for potential high risk tomorrow. You can see where these thunderstorms are located on Wednesday. Again, the wetter variety is certainly further south, with thunderstorms further north being a mix of wet and dry and any precipitation being more spotty. We'll also see gusty outflow winds with these storms. However, winds across Idaho will decrease from what we will see today. As we move into Thursday, thunderstorms spread further north and east, mainly across Idaho and Utah and the far northeast corner of Nevada, with drier conditions pushing into the western side of the basin. So those high risks have pushed further north into northeast Nevada and Idaho for Thursday. You can see where those thunderstorms will be located on Thursday. So again, it'll be mainly for Idaho and northeast Nevada on the northern edge that will be the main concern for the drier lightning. Areas further south will continue to see wetter thunderstorms. However, still the potential for gusty outflow winds will affect our ongoing large fires and any new starts as well. So even if you don't see some precipitation from lightning, you still could see some gusty outflow winds. 3-day forecast amounts of precipitation are heaviest in the south and in the higher terrain of Utah, where moisture will be a little bit more consistent, and into the central Sierra and a little bit more spotty elsewhere across the basin. As we move into Friday, we do see much drier air pushing into the western half and southern half of Nevada, and thunderstorms continuing across Idaho and northern Utah. We do not have any high risk yet for Friday, as we may see a little bit more moisture finally move up into the north briefly before drier air moves through, but we will continue to monitor the lightning in the north for Friday. As we move into Saturday and through the weekend, we'll see this dry air spread further east across the Great Basin with warmer temperatures and again very dry conditions, low relative humidity, and poor recovery is expected. As we move into Sunday, this dry air pushes across most of the entire basin with the exception of parts of Wyoming, which still might see some thunderstorms. And then by Monday, all areas will be dry across the Great Basin. This period of drying will likely be a fairly prolonged period going into next week. Forecast amounts of precipitation for the 7 days. Heaviest amounts are in the south and in Utah in the higher terrain, and also across Idaho as those thunderstorms become more established later this week. The 8 to 14 day outlook takes us into the last week of August, showing above normal temperatures continuing and generally dry conditions with the exception of the very far south. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.